these words float about. You say, what do they float about? Hebrew is Hebrew is a language built on three-letter roots. It's very rational. So is Arabic. All Semitic languages are built normally on three-letter roots. Depending on where you put the vowels, I think I told you a little bit about this. The word has certain meanings. I told you a little bit about this. If you put it like that, it's Zedek, righteousness. If you put it like this, it's Zadok, the name. If you put it like this, double the D, it's Sadiq, the righteous one. You can't tell the D has been doubled in normal Hebrew orthography. You can only do it if you speak the language. So in fact, Zadok and Sadiq would look the same in written Hebrew at that time because the Yud, as it's called, here, and the O here looked the same in written Hebrew at that time. And you could only know it's an I and an O by knowing the word. So when you see Zadok, it can also read Sadiq. So it could be a person known as the Tzaddik, the righteous one. What's James's cognomen in all early church literature? The Tzaddik. James the Just. That's Latin for Tzaddik. Dikaios in Greek. James the righteous one. James the Tzaddik. And he's always called, and so even in the Pseudo-Clementines, or rather in the church testimony about his death, they speak, "O righteous one, tell us what we should do." This could be, "O Zadok, tell us what we should do." You see, this is how Hebrew works. I'll give you another example. Shalom, peace. Same in Islam without the S. Salam in Islam, peace. And then put the I here and an A here, it's Islam. Making peace, causing to make peace, causing to surrender, the name of Islam. Put a prefix in the head of it, and it's Muslim. That's the prefix, someone who does something. Muslim. Okay, for me it's easy, because I've studied all this stuff for about 30 or 40 years. And I'm about finished. You're my last class. So, you know, obviously I'm going to have more facility than you guys in playing these games. But one day you'll be like me. And then you'll be able to just play games with your students. That's what you want to try to get to, you know. You want to get cleverer than the next person if you can be, and I think you can. So this is the way to get that way. No sense being angry at me. No sense feeling animosity or aggressiveness. I'm not going to get anywhere for anybody. You know, I am what I am. You are what you are. What you want to do is to improve yourself to handle people like me. And then to be superior to people like me, and then superior to others who you'll argue and discuss with. Maybe you don't want to, but most scholars want to get a leg up on a lot of people. In any case, so this Judas Galileans told the people that they shouldn't pay the tax to Rome. What does Paul say in Romans 13? The authorities were put here by God, therefore you should obey the authorities, therefore you should pay the taxes to them that ask for taxes, and you should love, and this is loving your neighbor as yourself. And he quotes the righteousness commandment that all these guys are quoting, and he quotes it in, this would be looked upon in Palestine. You know, if you were Al-Qaeda, you'd be on your way to beheading this guy. That's all I can do. You'd be running after him, and you'd be ready to take him apart. This would be considered total collaborator type language. Now, to us today, it sounds beautiful, because we're not involved in the political turmoil of that time. And to us, you know, a saint for us, for those people, could be something else. And that's why certain groups in Palestine considered Paul the Antichrist, like the Ebionites thought of him as the Antichrist. The devil incarnate, if you want. And, you know, so when people are taking an oath in the book of Acts not to eat or drink till they have killed Paul, taking a temporary Nazarite oath, that is, and that's repeated 2 or 3 times from approximately Acts 22 to Acts 25, and where in the we document, you have to understand why they feel that way. When Paul goes into the temple, and this is where the Acts gets very down to earth, is not dependent on Josephus anymore. It's dependent on an eyewitness account of someone who traveled with Paul, which is why we have the we document there. Then Acts gets really good and precise, and there's nothing to quarrel with it about. He goes into the temple. James has sent him into the temple. Some people say James set him up by saying, look, Paul, we've heard rumors around here that you teach straying from the law, and that you teach all the Jews and Gentiles around the Mediterranean against this people, against this temple, and against the law, which is what he's doing in all his speeches. But to show there's no truth in any of this, James obviously doesn't want people to teach that kind of thing. Go into the temple, since you're perceived as having a lot of money, you raise a lot of money overseas, and take a Nazarite oath, a very extreme procedure, and pay for the Nazarite oath of 4 others, because you've got money. And Nazarite oath is a very particular part of the law. So Paul, nothing loath, says, yeah, sure, I'm going to do that, because Paul's philosophy in 1 Corinthians is, I'm a Greek to the Greek, a Jew to the Jew, a lawkeeper to the lawkeeper, a lawbreaker to the lawbreaker. I'll do whatever I have to do to win. All the athletes at the stadium are running for the prize, and I, run to win. That's how I fight, not beating the air. So Paul, given that philosophy, he's the first modern man. He'll do whatever he has to do to win, and he does win. There's no doubt Paul wins. We are the product of his victory. But that doesn't mean he's right. At least not right in Palestine. He may be right for spiritual salvation in all mankind. That's for you to determine. It doesn't mean he's right in Palestine, and there are groups that didn't think he was right in Palestine. So Acts says Paul goes into the temple there, and then some people see him and start to shriek and say, Jews, everyone help! This is the man that goes around Asia preaching against our people, against the temple, and against the law. Now, is that a true accusation? Yes, it is, given the speeches that he's given. And they're all worked up. And they throw him out of the temple and bar the doors behind him. How many are familiar with that episode? It's in Acts, it's in Acts 21, 22. And you see, then after that, they want to kill him, and they take the oath to go and kill him. Of course, this is all portrayed negatively. Here's how you get the negative portrayal of the Jewish people. The Jews are all wrong here, and Paul's all right. Paul's the saint, and the Jews are miserable, sort of cavilling, vicious, extremists, unreasonable lunatics. Something right out of Monty Python, The Life of Brian, if you've seen The Life of Brian, right? This is what they're portrayed as. Okay, cool, that's your point of view. But if you're another writer writing it, you might have a different point of view, and that's what the scrolls are. In any event, now he's trying to introduce foreigners into the temple. And then the book of Acts says, no, they'd seen him in town with a Greek and thought he was trying to do that, but really he wasn't. So the